You are Locked On Giants Postcast, part of Locked On Sports San Francisco on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Giants Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer for the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR. And today, the Giants take down the Reds 8-2 in the rubber match out there in Cincinnati at the Great American Ballpark to take the series 2-1. The Giants smashed 3 more homers today, bringing their total in this series to 8, the most they have had in any series this season. Tyler Fitzgerald and Matt Chapman have been at the heart of the offensive production in this series, and while the homers have been nice, they disguise what would have otherwise been a pretty bad offensive series for the Giants. And Robbie Ray had a decent bounce-back game as well today, and the Giants take down another NL wildcard contender. We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports San Francisco YouTube channel. Please, if you aren't already subscribed, hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Giants podcast feed. However you're getting the show, we appreciate you tuning in. And make sure to check out the Locked On Giants Daily Show for more in-depth coverage. Ben Kaspick does a great job. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. And this one, it took the Giants a little bit to get that offense rolling, but the Reds struck first. In the bottom of the second, they went back-to-back jacks. Candelario and Espinal hit back-to-back bombs, and both on fastballs up. And we've talked about this with Robbie Ray before. He is a fly ball and strikeout pitcher. He had 9 strikeouts today, and sometimes when you're a fly ball strikeout guy, yeah, a lot of times those guys rely on high fastballs, high heat to get those strikeouts, sometimes climb the ladder, change the hitter's eye level, that kind of stuff. And sometimes you'll get hurt climbing that ladder with that fastball. For Robbie Ray, it happened today. Both of those home runs came on 2 fastballs that were up in the zone. The first home run, Candelario's, came on the second pitch of the at-bat. And Espinal, he was looking for the same thing, sitting dead red on the first pitch of the at-bat, swinging, hit it over the fence. And it was, not a complete cheapie, Espinal's. It did, it would have been a home run in 21 of 30 parks. So it kind of a cheapie. Candelario's was not, would have been a bomb in 29 out of 30 yards. So Espinal's, we'll say, sort of a cheapie. It wasn't a Great American Ballpark special, which Lamont Wade Jr. actually got all over it later on in this one. We'll get to that in just a second. But first, in the top of the fourth, starts off with the Fitzgerald single, and then Matt Chapman 2-run bomb ties it up at 2-2, his 17th of the season, which ties his home run total from last year. And Matt Chapman is super hot right now after coming back from the All-Star break. We've seen it in the field. Last night he did have an error, but that was but it was a tough play. That could have been ruled a hit either way. But today Chapman showed you what he's doing in the field with that great play in the 6th inning, which we'll get to in just a second, to preserve the Giants' lead. And also this 2-run bomb. Chapman's been on a heater since coming back from the All-Star break, batting over 300 and been one of the Giants' best offensive producers since the return from the break. We'll get to that later. We'll go through Matt Chapman's numbers a little bit later on in the show. In the 6th inning, Lamont Wade Jr., the Great American Ballpark special, solo shot, his 4th of the season, just a 364-foot shot. That's right, 364 feet. That's a Little League home run. Not a Little League home run, but that's like a high school home run. You know what I mean? Like a lot of high school stadiums are about that size, maybe a little bit smaller than that. But this one was a laser line drive off the bat. Got out of here in a hurry. 107.7 for everything this ball lacked in distance. It made up for in speed off the bat. And what an impressive line drive by Lamont Wade Jr. It was aided, as I said, by the Great American Ballpark, and it only would have been a home run in 4 big league stadiums. But today it counts. Put it on the board, Lamont's 4th of the season, and then it gave the Giants a 1-run lead, 3-2. Then in the bottom of the 6th, the Giants found themselves in some trouble as Ellie De La Cruz got on base after getting drilled by a pitch, and which you never want to do. You don't want to walk that guy. You don't want to give him free bases at all. That is the most dangerous man in all of baseball to give first base to, because it's basically giving him second base and sometimes third base. And in this one, he ended up on third, no problem. Stole third base without a throw in this inning. Ellie De La Cruz is so incredibly fun to watch, and he's just such an electric player. I mean, this guy is crazy talented and super fun to watch. It's only a bummer that he's out there in Cincinnati and we don't get to see him on the national shows more often. But this guy, I mean, wow, every time I watch this guy, he just blows me away. And today did the same thing, man. The Giants got bailed out by Matt Chapman, and TJ Friedel on his bobblehead day out there in Cincinnati hits a dribbler with 2 outs down the third baseline, and Matt Chapman, it was a do or die bare hand play. If he doesn't make this play, De La Cruz scores easily from third. But Matt Chapman charges full sprint speed, scoops and fires over to first. That ball out of his hand looked like it was shot out of a cannon, and gets Friedel by half a step to prevent the run from scoring. And I cannot stress to you how important this play was, how hard that play is to make. There are very few people in baseball who can make that play. Matt Chapman is one of them, the Platinum Glove third baseman. I mean, he might be, on a list of like maybe 3 guys in all of baseball that can make that play. Wow. What a solid showing today, all around, offensively and defensively, by Matt Chapman. Then in the 8th inning, the Giants really busted this one open. Fitzgerald hit a home run again, his 11th of the season, his 10th since July 9th, a 2-run shot, went 402 feet on a low fastball over the middle. And that's been something that's really caught my eye about this hot streak by Tyler Fitzgerald. He's hitting all types of pitches during this streak. It's not like he's just hunting hanging curveballs or hanging breaking balls. I mean, he's hit a bunch of home runs off of sliders. He's hit a bunch of home runs off of fastballs. And it's not just pitches low in the zone or up in the zone or inside or outside. I mean, he's doing it all over the plate. So Tyler Fitzgerald's really impressed me with his ability to adjust to pitches in the box. The one bugaboo for both of these guys, Fitzgerald and Chapman, is that they've both had a ton of strikeouts as of late and not a lot of walks. And that really fits into what the Giants have been doing offensively. I mean, I say fits in, it's just in line with what they've been doing. Today, only 2 walks for the Giants, 11 strikeouts. This game would have been tough if it weren't for the home runs offensively. But the Giants weren't done in that 8th inning. It gave the Giants a 5-2 lead after that Fitz home run, but then Pat Bailey walks. Matt Chapman reaches on a slow roller to third base. It was initially ruled an error, but changed to a base hit. And that play was very similar to the one that Matt Chapman made in the 6th inning. It was almost an identical type of play, although you didn't have a runner on third breaking for home for the Giants. But as far as the ball in play and the play the third baseman had to make to try and get Matt Chapman out at first, it was relatively the same play that Matt Chapman made, but Chapman special, and he's going to make that play. Other third basemen are not. So Chapman reaches, gives the Giants 2 runners on, and Michael Conforto at the dish. He rips a double and clears the bases, gives the Giants a 7-2 lead. And it's great to see Michael Conforto have a good game, man. 3 for 4 today, 2 doubles, and he was down bad coming into this one. No other way to put it. Conforto has been struggling. A lot of Giants fans wanted to ship him out at the All-Star break, myself included. And he's still in a Giants uniform after the trade deadline. And now he's actually producing a little bit. So the best the Giants can expect from Conforto, or hope for from Conforto, is a night like this. I mean, it's been a while since he's had a day like this, but 3 for 4, Conforto with a couple RBIs as well and a run scored. He scored that 1 run on the very next at bat as Gerard Encarnacion, after launching his first Giants home run yesterday, not his first big league home run, but his first Giants home run yesterday. He nearly hits one today, but it just a little bit better on launch angle, at a launch angle of 19 degrees. I don't get into launch angle very much on this show, but if he had just lofted that ball a little bit more, that's going out over the center field wall. Instead, he's got a 394-foot double, 110.2 mile an hour off the bat, smashes that center field wall and scores Conforto from second base, gives the Giants an 8-2 lead. The Giants bat around in that 8th inning and scored 5 runs, and it really busted this one open, prevented the Giants from having to go to Duvall there in the 9th inning, and it gives the Giants an 8-2 lead as they were able to hold off the Reds for the win in this one. And it was a good win. It was a had to have it win for the Giants with where we're at in the season and with the opponent that they were playing, if they had lost to the Reds, they would have been tied with the Cincinnati Reds, five games back from the wild card, I believe. I don't have the standings up right in front of me right now, but the Giants were 4.5 coming into this one. The Reds were 5.5. If the Giants had lost this one, they would have been tied. It would have been rough, man. It would have been really, really, really rough to sit there looking at being tied with the Cincinnati Reds going into the final stretch of the season. I mean, you have a log jam there at the bottom of the NL West, or the NL wild card race, not the NL West, but the NL wild card race. And the Reds are one of those teams that are right there with the Giants. The Giants, I saw on the show today, they showed a little graphic that says Fangraphs gave the Giants about a 10% chance to make the playoffs this season, to make the postseason. So they definitely have their work cut out for them. They do have a manageable strength of schedule going forward until they finish up that series with the White Sox in a few weeks. So the Giants really need to win some games right now, and they started off this one pretty well. This road trip at least is started off on the right foot. They're going to head to the nation's capital, head over to play the Nationals in a 4-game set, another very winnable series. And you got 4 games against the Nationals. I feel like you got to win at least 3 of them. You have to keep winning series against these teams that are sub 500 going down into the playoff stretch if you want to have any hope of making this postseason with, quote unquote, the best rotation in baseball, the best starting rotation, according to general manager Farhan Zaidi, who also said he fully expects this team to make the playoffs. So Farhan really pushing all his chips in on that 10% chance. Seems a little risky, but hey, that's where we're at with this Giant season. And one thing we didn't really talk about so far was Robbie Ray's nice bounce back day. We'll go ahead and call it a nice bounce back day. I know the guy gave up 2 home runs, but he limited base runners, limited walks, limited hits. Both of those home runs ended up being solo shots, and it was more than manageable for the Giants to overcome a 2-run inning from the Reds, and that was really all they had today. The bullpen was phenomenal for the Giants. Only gave up 1 hit after Robbie Ray exited after 5 innings. This bullpen's been doing that pretty frequently lately. They've been super, super, super solid. But on the other side, or it's like a quick break here. On the other side, we'll get into Robbie Ray's day a little bit more. Plus, Matt Chapman and Tyler Fitzgerald, we got to break down how hot these 2 guys have been, but how that's kind of disguised some of the Giants' other very, very, very large lingering issues that this offense has faced all season long. Stick with us on the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. When you're taking in America's pastime, don't forget to hydrate with Liquid IV's Popsicle Firecracker flavor, a surefire summertime hit. Get hydrated with electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients from the #1 powdered hydration brand in America, because baseball and summer go together like Liquid IV and indulgent hydration. Yes, I just said indulgent hydration. I love Liquid IV's great taste, and staying hydrated is essential for my lifestyle. I mean, with all these concerts in the summertime that we got to get out to, I mean, Outside Lands is next weekend. It's going to be a nice warm weekend in San Francisco for that. And I mean, all the backpacking trips I take in the summertime, all the softball games that I'm playing in my rec league that you guys unfortunately have to hear about sometimes on the show. I'm an active guy, and I got to make sure I keep that thing on me. And of course, I'm talking about the Liquid IV pouch. And with the Liquid IV, it's more than just a drink. It's a science-backed way to hydrate better. Tear, pour, and live more. 1 stick plus 16 ounces of water hydrates better than water alone. Powered by LIV Hydroscience, an optimized ratio of electrolytes, essential vitamins, and clinically tested nutrients that turn ordinary water into extraordinary hydration. 3 times the electrolytes of the leading sports drink, 8 essential vitamins and nutrients, always non-GMO, vegan, gluten-free, dairy-free, and soy-free. So no more thirsty summers when you indulge in hydration with Liquid IV. Get 20% off your first order of Liquid IV when you go to liquidiv.com and use code MLB at checkout. That's 20% off your first order when you shop Better Hydration today using promo code MLB at liquidiv.com. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. The Giants take the series over the Reds with the rubber match win. 8-2 is the final score in this one. And the Giants are now 10-4 in rubber matches this year. It's pretty good for a team that's still sitting under 500 and has really yet to crest that mark since much earlier in the season. It's been very painful enduring this climb back to 500, the never-ending climb to 500. And with the win today, I hesitate to say this because we all know what's going to happen tomorrow if I say this out loud, but I'm going to go ahead and do it. The Giants, one game back from 500. They sit at 56-57 with the win today. And with a win over the Washington Nationals tomorrow, shout out the Washington Nationals, if you guys remember that Jersey fiasco back, like, what was that, 10, 15 years ago? That was hilarious. But anyways, the Giants, with the win tomorrow over the Washington Nationals, can get back to 500, something that this fan base has desperately wanted. And that's a pretty low bar, man. Like, for a team that's a fan base that's used to watching their team be in World Series and contend in playoffs and things like that, all we're asking for is 500 right now, man. And that's right now. That's going to change as soon as they get to 500. Then we're going to start asking for more, like a win streak to push them into the playoff conversation, like firmly into the playoff conversation. That's kind of how things are going to go here. But for right now, all we want to see is the Giants get back to 500, man. You got to start somewhere, and that's where they need to start. And for the Giants, I mean, they're going to have to do it on the back of the best pitching staff in baseball, according to Farhan Zaidi, and they looked a little more like that today. I mean, yesterday was rough with all the home runs that they gave up. I mean, Harrison giving up 4 home runs in less than 4 innings, Robbie Ray giving up some home runs in this one too. That was just the theme of this series. There were a ton of home runs hit in this one. 20 combined runs in this series between the two teams. 18 came on home runs. 18 of the 20 runs in this series came by the way of the long ball. Plus, don't forget Matt Chapman, one of those runs was his Little League home run where the Reds like kicked the ball around in the outfield and threw it into the dugout and allowed Matt Chapman 2 free bases. So you basically had 19 home runs, 18 plus a Little League, and in the 20 runs scored in this season. I mean, that's insane. Today alone, the Giants had 8 home runs, the most in any series this season. And that really helped Robbie Ray, who did also surrender 2 home runs of his own. Robbie Ray, although, as I said earlier, they were both solo shots. So Robbie Ray escaped without having too much damage on his track record for today. And he used that slider a lot more than he has at any other point this season. Coming into this one, Robbie Ray was using that slider at about 26.7% of the time, using the fastball 58.3% of the time in a very small sample size, only 2 games so far in his 2024 season. However, in this one today, that slider, he threw it 37% of the time, and that four-seam fastball only 40% of the time. He only threw 2 more fastballs than sliders, threw 34 of those four-seamers and 32 sliders. So that pitch distribution was a lot different than what we've seen from Robbie Ray this year. As I said, coming into this one, he was throwing that slider about 26% of the time. So he threw it a solid 10% more today than he usually does. He also threw that four-seamer about 20% less than he usually does. The other pitch that he used today, because he's basically been using 3 pitches this season, the other pitch, the third one, is the knuckle curve. And that's something that we've seen him toy around with in the past in very, very small doses. But it's something that he's leaned into this year. This is the most he's thrown it in any game so far this season. He was only throwing it about 15% of the time coming into this one. But today, 23% of his pitches were that knuckle curve. And he got a 43% swing and miss rate on it. He got 6 whiffs on 14 swings on the knuckle curve. And overall, that was pretty much in line with what he got at the dish as far as swing and miss rate goes. 41% swing and miss rate across all his pitches, 18 whiffs on 44 swings. And he was able to keep that exit velo down as well on that knuckle curve. Average exit velo of just 66.8 miles an hour. Average exit velo on that slider was 85.6 miles an hour as well. So it was a good day out there for Robbie Ray. Average exit velo on the fastball was 89 miles an hour. So pretty solid day for Robbie Ray, especially a guy who can get caught up in the zone and give up some hard contact. He limited that today pretty well and got 9 strikeouts on his way to the win. He only gave up 3 hits, 2 runs, and 1 walk. So he only gave up 4 base runners, struck out 9, and pitched around those, gave up those two bombs, but they were solo shots. Great day for Robbie Ray on the mound. A nice bounce back day after he didn't have the best outing last time against the Oakland Athletics. As far as flyouts go, Robbie Ray only got 1 flyout, which was kind of weird because that's, as I said, he's a strikeout fly ball pitcher. got 3 groundouts as well. But in 5 innings of work, 9 strikeouts translates to a lot of those outs going by the way of swinging and missing. So Robbie Ray did a great job today, keeping the Giants in this one, making sure that they had a chance to win in this rubber match and keep their playoff hopes, distant playoff hopes, I should say, alive in this one. Yes, we still have a lot of season left to play. It's only August 4th, but the Giants need every single series at this point. You have to have, for sure, a winning record. I mean, if you have a losing record through the rest of the way, you can kiss the playoffs goodbye. But if the Giants are able to just win series against teams that they should beat, teams that they are better than record-wise right now, which isn't saying a whole lot considering that they aren't even a 500 team. If you just beat the teams that you have a better record than, you might be a playoff team. If you just win those series, the Giants might be enough to get them into the playoffs. You might have to win a series, maybe 1 or 2 series against teams like the Brewers or something like that. You got them a couple times, and that's going to be tough. But if you just beat the teams that you're better than going down this stretch, you're going to be in a pretty good position to make a playoff run. And as I said earlier, it's going to be in large part based on this pitching staff because we know this offense is incredibly, incredibly inconsistent. Tyler Fitzgerald and Matt Chapman have been really nice lately, however, but it's disguised some bigger issues with this Giants offense that we all know, we're all very familiar with, but it bears, discussing. And we'll do that now. We'll take a quick break here on the Locked On Giants postcast. On the other side, we're going to give Matt Chapman and Tyler Fitzgerald some credit for what they've been doing, but we're also going to pull back the curtain a little bit and see really what these two guys are disguising with basically a giant home run Band-Aid. Stick with us on the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll be right back. Today's show is sponsored by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections for a chance to win 100 times your money. With PrizePicks, you could turn $10 into $1,000 while watching Team USA rack up their gold medals this summer. You can make a PrizePicks lineup of players across all sports, basketball, soccer, tennis, golf, and more in as little as just 60 seconds. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and you're locked in. If you're looking for promotions, PrizePicks has got you covered every week, from lowering select players' stat projections on Tuesdays. We love those Taco Tuesdays to help your lineup hit, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on Fridays. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. It's PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Welcome back to the Locked On Giants postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and today the Giants with an 8-2 win over the Cincinnati Reds in the rubber match of this one to take the series in Cincinnati let's just call it what it is. It's Buster Posey's house. Great American Ballpark will forever be Buster Posey's house. We cannot forget that grand slam. It is Giants lore at this point. Every single Giants fan should know about that moment. If you don't, I know all of you guys do, but if you don't, go back and look it up. That Buster Posey grand slam at the Great American Ballpark was one of the biggest moments in the entire Giants playoff runs of the 2010s. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it, but that is forever Buster Posey's park. I don't care who's played there. I know, those Reds teams, they've been okay these last couple years, but it's Buster's house. It's Buster's house for sure. Not Ellie's house. That's Buster's house. So the Giants, they did it today with a bunch of home runs. They did it all series long with a bunch of home runs, and 2 guys right at the center of that, Matt Chapman and Tyler Fitzgerald, that we got to talk about. And Chapman, we'll start with him. He has been on an absolute heater since the 19th of last month of July, the first game back from the All-Star break against the Colorado Rockies. He's since then coming into this one. I don't have today's stats averaged in with all this, but he had a .308 batting average with 16 hits, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, and 12 runs scored in those 15 games coming into this one. And of course, today he adds another home run, another run scored, and Matt Chapman had a very, very, very big impact on today's game. as far as winning goes, with that defensive play that he made to prevent Ellie De La Cruz from scoring in the sixth inning, give the Giants a lead, or preserve that Giants lead rather. And also he smashed that home run, that 2-run shot early in this one. So he was really doing it on both sides of the plate. He had 2 RBIs in this one, as I mentioned. He also scored 2 runs in this one as he scored during that 8th inning rally, 2 hits for Chapman on the day. And he's had a very good series, a lot of extra base hits for Chappie in this Cincinnati Reds series. And he's had a hit in almost every game during this stretch. There's only been about 5 games where Chapman hasn't picked up a hit since the All-Star break, since we've returned from it. So he has been on a heater. And even, more recently, over his last 10 games, he's 14 for 36. It's a batting average of .389 with 4 doubles, 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, and 8 runs scored on 7 walks. He leads the team in doubles and home runs and hits. So Chapman has really been delivering for the Giants as of late. He took a little while to get going, but offensively, he's finally here. One thing he's been doing all season long is playing defense. His +9 defensive run saves at third base is tied for the best in baseball with Pittsburgh's Ke'Bryan Hayes. That guy is a very solid defensive third baseman, would be an all-star every single year if he didn't have a bunch of injuries early on in his career that kind of limited his power. Ke'Bryan Hayes had the potential to be, just super, super, super great at third base. Kind of a bummer when injuries derail guys like that, even when they're not Giants. I hate to see injuries derail guys' careers in Major League Baseball or in any sport. It's sad to see, man. But point being, Matt Chapman has been one of the best defensive third basemen, maybe the best defensive third baseman in all of baseball this season. And now he's finally doing it at the plate too. Again, a .389 batting average over his last 10 games coming into this one. And he adds another home run and a couple hits. He did pretty well. Tyler Fitzgerald, let's move on to him. We all know how hot Fitzy has been. We've been talking about this for a while now. And coming into this one since July 9th, when he started this insane tear of home runs, he has a batting average of .339, 19 hits, 9 bombs, 15 RBIs, 14 runs scored. That's again without today's stats, but today tack on another bomb for Tyler Fitzgerald, who is batting second, by the way, today. I like Tyler Fitzgerald batting in the top half of my batting order. And he had another multi-hit game, 2 runs scored, 2 RBIs. Fitzy doing it all at the plate. His OPS still over 1,000, sitting right at about 1,000 right now, batting average at .309 for the season. He's been tearing it up. We should also mention Chapman's OPS creeping up towards 800. It's at 774. That batting average is at 246. And as I said, he's now tied his total from last season as far as home runs go. So Matt Chapman really starting to come around for the Giants, and they'll need him to do that. The Giants, I don't know why this team is built to live and die by the long ball. It's not really built to live and die by the long ball, but that's what they've been doing. Because when they hit 2 or more home runs this season, they're 21-7. When they don't hit any, they're 18-20. So this team, when they hit 2 home runs, a lot better than when they don't. And those stats probably look pretty similar across all teams in baseball. Obviously, if you hit more home runs, you'll probably win some more games. That's just how that goes. But it's really interesting to me that the Giants are it's sub 500 when they don't hit any home runs. And this is a team that should be built to win without hitting home runs, because there's not a whole lot of home run power on this team. Not a single guy is going to hit 30 bombs for the Giants this year. You have a bunch of guys who might hit 20, 25-ish, maybe on the high end for Matt Chapman or Elliot Ramos if he gets hot here at the end of the season. And boy, oh boy, Elliot Ramos has been really cold. We'll see if we have enough time to get into that by the end of the show. Just sneak in some of those stats for you. But it's been tough when the Giants don't hit home runs. And as I said, the home runs disguised a lot of really bad stuff for the Giants at the dish today. Runners in scoring position, they were only 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. That's not good. It's not terrible. It's not as bad as we've seen them. At least they weren't hitless with runners in scoring position. But the strikeout numbers are startling. 11 strikeouts, just 2 walks. And a lot of these strikeouts come in situations with runners in scoring position and less than 2 outs. And that is just inexcusable for the Giants to be continuously striking out in these situations. Now, we were just talking about Matt Chapman and Tyler Fitzgerald and how great they've been. Well, I do want to point out, as far as strikeouts go, since Tyler Fitzgerald started this streak on the 9th of last month, this home run terror, He's got 19 strikeouts and only 6 walks. He also had 2 more strikeouts today, did not walk today either. So 21 strikeouts, 6 walks in the last month, roughly. That's really bad. That's not good. It's not a lot of plate discipline. Matt Chapman, 2 more strikeouts today. Matt Chapman, since the All-Star break, since returning from the All-Star break, 15 strikeouts. Not great. He has also drawn 11 walks. So Chappie at least drawn some walks to match those strikeouts, but a lot of strikeouts for the Giants. And they're coming at really inopportune times, and they need to fix this or it's going to come back to bite them. You can't hit 8 home runs a series for the rest of the year. That's not going to happen. This lineup is just not going to do that. They do have a lot more power than I thought that they would have at the beginning of the season. I will say that Tyler Fitzgerald has been a revelation. Matt Chapman has turned back the clock a little bit and turned in a better season offensively than he did last year. He's already matched the home run total from last season with basically 2 months left to play. So Matt Chapman stepping up for the Giants offensively, especially in this second half of the season. Real quick before we wrap up the show, one guy who has not stepped up since the All-Star break is the Giants All-Star, Elliot Ramos. He was benched today, Encarnacion getting the start again over him. He was taken out last night in the last of the game to be pinch hit for by Encarnacion. I mean, a guy who just got here pinch hitting for the Giants All-Star and the hottest hitter that this team had in the first half of the season. Ramos, since the All-Star break, batting just .232, 13 hits. He does have a home run, 7 RBIs, and 1 run scored, but that's across 14 games. That's not what we have come to expect from this guy who showed us what he really was in the beginning of this season. And one really troubling stat for him. I mean, we talked a lot about it on the last show. He cannot hit that high fastball, really struggling with it in his last at bat. Saw 3 consecutive fastballs high in the zone, 3 consecutive strikes and a strikeout, swung at 2 of them, just missed them bad. Then grabbed some pine meat, as Kruko likes to say. He's going to be grabbing a lot of pine lately and going forward if he can't figure out how to get some hits, man, because in this time, he's got 14 strikeouts and only 1 walk. 14 strikeouts, 1 walk. That's, I mean, beyond bad. That is unplayable level of bad. And when you combine that with a batting average that is plummeting day by day, a power that just seems to be diminishing, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's teams have just figured out how to pitch him. Obviously, they have adjusted to where his hot and cold zones are in the strike zone, and teams know just pipe that fastball in up in the zone, and Ramos is going to have a hard time with it. I also wonder if it's a little bit of fatigue now that we're in the dog days of summer and of the baseball season, and this is a guy who's played a lot of AAA ball. He hasn't had as long of a season as this MLB season, so it's a lot of wear and tear on your body. It's something that this guy really hasn't experienced before, with as much as he's been an everyday player for the Giants since he came up on just an absolute heater early in the season. And maybe it's just kind of flattening out now. Maybe I don't want to say he's regressing to the norm, because I still think Elliot Ramos's norm is closer to what we saw earlier in the season than what we're seeing now. I think he's got to just adjust to these high fastballs. Once he's able to figure out how to catch up to them and still be able to get to those off-speed pitches that are tunneled in the same arm slot, he will be a lot better at the plate. And he's a young kid. We got to give him some time to adjust. I'm definitely not saying that like we got to send him back to AAA or anything. He does not need to do that. He needs to stay with the big league club, and he just needs to adjust. The league has adjusted to him. Now he's got to adjust to the league's adjustments. Adjust to the adjustments. That's what happens to every young player who breaks out onto the Major League Baseball scene. In the rest of Major League Baseball, when they get that scouting report on how to attack that player, that player now, it's going to determine whether or not Ramos is going to be a successful player in this league going forward, whether or not he's going to be just another guy on the Giants who had a nice little streak, or whether or not he's going to be a perennial all-star. If he can adjust to these adjustments that the league has made against him, he could continue to be a perennial all-star. His future isn't set in stone, but we are at a crucial turning point for Elliot Ramos. It's going to go one way or the other, and we got to see him start hitting some high fastballs if we have hope of this guy continuing to do what he did early in the season, maybe before the end of this season and years coming. I mean, Elliot Ramos, we were all so excited about this super talented homegrown outfielder. We haven't had one of those in forever in a Giants uniform. Maybe ever in my lifetime, if I'm being honest, because all the big boppers that we've had in the outfield, I mean, of course, Barry Bonds, but even other guys that were good, Hunter Pence, Angel Pagan, like other guys that came in and gave the Giants something, Pat Burrell, none of these guys were homegrown talent. None of them. Absolutely none of them. So it's been really exciting watching what Ramos has given this Giants team, but he's definitely hitting a wall right now, and he needs to figure out how to adjust and climb over that wall, get around it, dig under it, something. Get over this wall of the high fastball and get back to hitting. That would be a huge boost for the Giants if Ramos can be the guy that he was earlier in this year, while you have Fitzgerald and Chapman starting to come around. But this is the problem the Giants have faced all season long, is this offense is so inconsistent that whenever one person gets hot, the rest of the lineup cools down. And that's continuously been what's happened to the Giants all season long. Today, it was enough for a win against the Reds. Reminder, the Reds are just 53-58 this season. If the Giants want to start beating good teams, you have to have everybody contributing. You have to play a complete game. You have to have the pitching staff, the starters, the bullpen, and the offense all show up in the same day. Today, they did that, but it's been few and far between the games that they've all been able to fire on all cylinders, that all of those three phases of the game. We can't forget the defense as well. The Giants did collect 12 hits in this one, so the offense really carried them, but the pitching was solid as well. Only gave up 2 runs, 4 hits. Robbie Ray, nice outing. The bullpen, we did not talk about the bullpen at all in today's game. I barely mentioned it, but they only gave up 1 hit after Robbie Ray's exit after 5 innings. So 4 innings for the bullpen, only 1 hit given up by Spencer Bivens in the 9th inning. Only 1 walk as well. 3 strikeouts for the bullpen. They are rolling right now. You look at ERAs for these guys: Ryan Walker 2.34, Eric Miller 3.35, Tyler Rogers 3.18, Spencer Bivens 1.99. Spencer Bivens, man, shout out the kid who he's 30, not really a kid, but shout out the guy making his MLB debut this season after toiling away in the minor leagues for as long as he did and having such a nice year for the Giants. I mean, that moment that he had earlier in the season when he won his first big league game was just one of the highlights of the Giants season so far. And it's been nice that it wasn't just like lightning in a bottle. He's been able to replicate it. 1.99 ERA on the season is pretty solid for a guy who is a complete unknown AAA player coming into this one. He's pitched in 11 games this year. He's got 18 strikeouts over 22 2/3 innings, whip just over 1 at 1.10. Shout out Spencer Bivens, man. He's been super solid for the Giants out of the bullpen. One of the few guys who has actually been pretty consistent all year long for the Giants. Really fun one today in Cincinnati. A lot to break down from this one. Again, we're way over time again, and I could keep rolling if I wanted to, but we got to cut the show. I got to figure out how to condense these, man. I keep going way too long, but thanks for sticking with us. Thanks for joining us on the Locked On Giants postcast. We'll be coming to you live tomorrow as the Giants take on the Nationals. That one starts at 3:45 Pacific time out there in the nation's capital. It's a start of a 4-game set out there in Washington. So the Giants need to win. As I said, 3 of those games. You cannot lose or split series to teams that are worse record-wise than you at this point in the season. You just can't do it. Thanks for joining us today. That's all the time we got for you on the Locked On Giants postcast. We'll see you next time. Peace.